Now we are live.
No, we're preparing.
We're still preparing.
Oh,
Not yet.
now we are live.
I'm ready.
Okay, we are live and live streaming on YouTube.
Okay, good morning. This is the New York City Board of Standards and
Microphones on, everyone?
microphones are on. Good morning. This is the New York City Board of Standards and Appeals review session for August 7th, 2023.
All right, Commissioner Sheta will not be present at today's hearing. I want everybody to take note of that. And before we start today's hearing, I want to take a moment to remember a dear colleague of ours, Steve Jules. He was a valued member of the BSA team, and we lost him last week. Many of the listeners may not know Steve. But he worked behind the scene. His contribution to streamlining our portal system, managing our system and website was integral to our daily operation. But most importantly, because of him, the board did not miss a single hearing during the pandemic. And most of all, he was one of the most kindest, gentle human beings. We will miss him. And I just want to take a moment of silence.
Right? Okay, so the following are adjournments. Item number 16008 BZ 671 Fountain Avenue, Brooklyn. 2021-48 and 2021-49A, 42 and 72 Schmieg Avenue, Staten Island. 2022-65 BZ 2503 215 19 Coney Island Avenue, Brooklyn. Deferrals. 2017-262 BZ 18 Stanwick Street, Brooklyn. 2018-173 BZ 128 Beach 9th Street, Queens. 2021-35 BZ 957 Grand Street, Brooklyn. 2021-83 BZ 80-7488 Street, Queens. 2021-84A 6301 Amboy Road, Staten Island.
I want to say something about this one. The applicant has requested requested additional time to evaluate options to revise the application. As stated at the last hearing, the board expressed concern regarding meeting the findings for a parking variance at the site or GCL. So the applicant has requested another 45 days. If no submissions are submitted within 45 days, then board shall dismiss this case.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Next case, 2022-38 BZ 4902 4920 14th Avenue, Brooklyn. Decision items. 3109 BZ 11704 Supton Boulevard, Queens.
Okay, the application sent a notice of initial filing, a letter to community board and elected officials notifying them of the scheduled BSA hearing of today. The notice of initial filing should have been made after filing the application, and a notice of hearing at least should have been submitted prior to the initial hearing. None of those were met. The applicant to date has made no effort to clean up the site and has made no effort to meet any of the prior board's conditions. After providing detailed guidelines of submission requirements, directing the applicant to respond to outstanding conditions, it leaves the board with no choice but to dismiss this application for lack of prosecution. So I make a motion to dismiss for the lack of prosecution. Prosecution.
Want to add the lack of jurisdiction as well?
No, I don't think we can. Oh, because we did end up scheduling a hearing, even though notice was not filed. So we kind of, General Counsel, what do you,
We're dismissing. It can be for lack of jurisdiction.
it can be
I'm sorry, it can be for lack of prosecution.
lack of prosecution. We don't need to do jurisdiction. Okay. And I also want to let the project managers and our council know that we should notify Department of Buildings and Fire Department that this case is being dismissed, so they should be keeping an extra oversight on this site.
Okay, so,
Thank you.
so motion to dismiss,
Yes,
Chair Shanda,
aye.
Vice Chair Shabeta,
All right.
Commissioner Otley Brown,
Aye.
Commissioner Yoon,
Aye.
sorry, go back to the other page.
This item is dismissed for lack of prosecution.
Sorry, thank you. Item number 11, 88, was not number 11, sorry. 8877 BZ through 9077 BZ, 220 East 86th Street, Manhattan.
Okay, we received a revised zoning analysis for the R8B portion of the site. This is, as I stated earlier, this is an amendment for the application to enlarge the zoning law to transfer the unused development rights from the subject variant site into an abutting site for an as-of-right development. It meets the Bella Vista case. So with that, I make a motion to approve.
Chair Shanda,
Aye.
Vice Chair Shabeta,
All right.
Commissioner Otley Brown,
Aye.
Commissioner Commissioner Yoon,
Aye.
this application has been granted.
I just want to go back to the first case. I did say lack of prejudice. Is it without
Dismissed.
dismissed for lack of prosecution?
Yeah.
But is it without any?
It's
pros-
irrespective of prejudice. They can refile the application. This is just it's not being withdrawn with or without prejudice. It's being just dismissed for lack of prosecution. But while we're on it, again, this is a review session, so I'm going to lower Mr. Chrysler's hand in the waiting room, but we are not going to be hearing this application today as the board has just dismissed it for lack of lack of prosecution, excuse me.
Thank
And I'm gonna lower your hand again.
Hmm.
If you have any questions about about this application, Mr. Chrysler, I suggest you contact the board office and the project manager. We have a public hearing and a review session and public hearing to move through. Thank you.
Thank you.
Move on.
Yes, please.
Next item, 27190 BZ, 6801 Queens Boulevard, Queens.
Okay, we received revised plans, and this site has been restored to a better condition. Photos have been provided. So I was satisfied with the improvements that the applicant has taken under board's direction. So I want to make a motion are all the commissioners satisfied with the submission that was made? Okay. So I want to then make a motion to approve with conditions that parking space for used car for sale shall be limited to 8 cars at any time. DOB shall review signage and determine compliance with C2 zoning regulations. Tires shall be kept inside the building outside of business hours. No repair work shall take place outside the building. There shall be no parking of vehicles on the sidewalks. And owners shall maintain the 68th Street frontage and keep it free of weeds and trash and debris. Well, trash and debris, same thing.
Good.
Yes,
So the motion to approve.
Aye.
Chair Shanda,
aye.
Vice Chair Shabeta,
Aye.
Commissioner Otley Brown,
Aye.
Commissioner Yoon.
Aye.
Application has been granted. Next item is 82067BZ, 41 Barker Street, Staten Island.
Okay. So the applicant has made some corrections. Is everybody okay with it? All right, so then I make a motion to approve with following conditions. Upon renewal of the spray booth certification, a copy shall be submitted to BSA. If it is not renewed, then the operator / applicant shall notify the board and revise the plan. There shall be no parking of vehicles on the sidewalk. The resolution shall note the hours of operation for auto repair being Monday through Friday, 8 AM to 5 PM, and Saturday, 8 AM to 1 PM. However, the Saturday operator may work, but no one is allowed to drop off or pick up the cars. And there shall be no drop off or pickup of cars after business hours on weekdays, Saturdays, and Sundays. All garbage containers shall be kept inside the building and brought out only only prior to pickup.
Does the board have any interest in putting a time bar on obtaining that spray booth certificate renewal?
I believe, let me go through my notes. I believe it's expiring. I believe it's expiring next year. So so I think it, at least within a year,
Within 1 year of expiration?
within 1 year of expiration. That might be whenever it is going to expire within 1 year. I do not know how long the process takes, but within
It
1 year.
expires July 19th, 2024.
July 19, 2024. Okay. So within 1 year of July 19, 2024.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
The motion to
Yes, motion to approve with those conditions.
Chair Shanda,
Aye.
Vice Chair Shabeta,
Aye.
Commissioner Otley Brown,
Aye.
Commissioner Yoon.
Aye.
This application's been granted. 91559BZ, 59-12 Fresh Pond Road, Queens.
Okay.
If you just speak up.
I have to speak up. All right. Can you all hear me?
Yeah. Can hear you. Your mic is on.
Yeah. Yeah, I can't get any bit closer than this.
We can hear you, Chair.
Okay. Can you all hear me?
Yeah,
Okay.
good.
Uh,
Good. 91559BZ, 59-12 Fresh Pond Road, Queens.
So I then make a motion to approve with the following conditions. That the lumen level on the site shall be shielded in accordance with the approved plan by spring of 2024. Trash enclosure shall be provided by spring of 2024. Resolution shall note that the board suggested that the applicant plant trees at along the sidewalk of 61st Street to help maintain its condition and from vehicles not parking on the sidewalk. The applicant declined, citing high cost of planting street tree. So instead, the applicant proposed to work with DOT to post no parking signs to prevent vehicles parking on the sidewalk along 61st Street. This is more for future boards to know that this was a suggestion made and the applicant chose an alternative.
Okay. Chair Shanda,
Aye.
Vice Chair Shabeta,
Aye.
Commissioner Otley Brown,
Aye.
Commissioner Yoon.
Aye.
Application has been granted. 2016-4348A and through 2016-4353A, 85-1415 7th Avenue, Queens.
Okay, this is an approval for an extension of time for 4 years. Motion to approve.
Chair Shanda,
Aye.
Vice Chair Shabeta,
Aye.
Commissioner Otley Brown,
Aye.
Commissioner Yoon.
Aye.
Application has been granted. 2020-85 BZ, 114 Kingsland Avenue, Brooklyn.
I'm just going through my notes. So we received revised plans with DEP notes added, and we have received, I believe, all the necessary secra sign-offs, right? Ms. Benke?
Yes.
Okay. So I make a motion to approve with the following conditions, and first of all, the DEP conditions. And Ms. Benke, correct me if I'm wrong, all community air monitoring plan readings shall be made available to DEP for review. Is that still a condition, or that has been met?
I can check. That usually happens after our application, but let me check.
So while Ms. Benke is verifying that, I will start with the other DEP conditions that were made. Proposed waterproofing membrane vapor barrier system detailed in the final RFP shall be used unless an amendment is approved by DEP. A professional engineer shall certify a remedial closure report at the completion of all remedial activities. The report shall indicate that all remedial requirements have been properly implemented. Closure report shall be submitted to DEP for review and approval. A TCO shall not be issued until DEP has approved the closure report. The resolution should note the owner's commitment regarding the lease term alerting the prospective tenants regarding cellar room being utilized not for sleeping or habitation purposes. And these conditions shall be included in the CO. And Ms. Benke?
Yes, that condition stands.
Okay. So
And I just want to add that they'll have 4 years to obtain the CO.
they have, yes, 4 years to obtain the CO, yes. So the other condition added to is that all community air monitoring plan readings shall be made available for DEP review.
Yes,
Thank you, Ms. Benke.
you're welcome.
Okay, those are my recommendations.
Okay, so the motion to approve.
Yeah.
Chair Shanda,
Aye.
Vice Chair Shabeta,
Aye.
Commissioner Otley Brown,
Aye.
Commissioner Yoon.
Aye.
Application has been granted. 2022 40BZ, 334 Van Duzer Street, Staten Island.
No submission was required. Make a motion to approve.
Chair Shanda,
Aye.
Vice Chair Shabeta,
Aye.
Commissioner Otley Brown,
Aye.
Commissioner Yoon.
Aye.
Application has been granted. 2021 41BZ, 12205 Merrick Boulevard, Queens.
Okay. So make a motion to approve with the following conditions. Most of them are DOT conditions. All sidewalk and curb cut improvements are subject to DOT review and approvals post BSA approval. Applicant/DOB is required to submit the required builder's pavement plan and all required drawings per DOT specifications and required for a DOT review and approval. Motor vehicles queuing shall not be allowed to spill back onto Merrick Boulevard, including blockage of the sidewalks because of the operational and safety concerns. If this condition fails to be met during operation of the facility, BSA in consultation with DOT or DOB will take action with BSA to revoke approvals for the drive-through window and or the curb cut. The applicant will be responsible for all constructions associated with the design and the site-related improvements. And the last is all storage tanks shall be removed and closed per DEC regulations.
Okay, motion to approve. Chair Shanda,
Aye.
Vice Chair Shabeta,
Aye.
Commissioner Otley Brown,
Aye.
Commissioner Yoon.
Aye.
Application has been granted. 2022-42A, 30 Page Avenue, Staten Island.
Okay, we received a DOT letter last Friday. And there were some comments that were there, I believe are relevant to the GCL 35 as they affect the site plan that BSA would approve, such as comments number 4, 5, and 6. So I believe we need to defer it until the comments affecting the site plans are comments affecting the site plan, they've been addressed. Or and our office should reach out to DOT and the applicant for clarification.
And I would ask the applicant to reach out directly to council's office to resolve this.
Yes, thank you.
2022-45A, 155 Skillman Street, Brooklyn.
No submission was required. Make a motion to approve.
Chair Shanda,
Aye.
Vice Chair Shabeta,
Aye.
Commissioner Otley Brown,
Aye.
Commissioner Yoon.
Aye.
Application has been granted. Excuse me. 2022-76 BZ, 175-33 Horace Harding Expressway, Queens.
We received revised plans and photos of improvements made to the site, including the sidewalk being repaved along 59th Avenue and removal of debris. So I make a motion to approve.
Chair Shanda,
Aye.
Vice Chair Shabeta,
Aye.
Commissioner Otley Brown,
Aye.
Commissioner Yoon.
Aye.
Application has been granted. 2022-79 BZ, 9000 Shore Road, Brooklyn.
Okay, I'm just scrolling through my notes. Just give me a second. So the application was closed, but the record was kept open. The board received a peer review report regarding traffic congestion and parking regarding the proposed development on the subject site. It was prepared by Swan's engineers on behalf of United Neighbors of Bay Ridge, a group of homeowners surrounding the subject site. Also received 2 objection letters. The applicant's team reviewed the peer report and responded to the recommendations made by Swan engineers. Upon review of both the reports, I'm satisfied with the responses provided by the applicant. All throughout the review process, neighbors, community board representatives, public officials have been very engaged and very diligent in raising their concerns with the current operation and future plans. And the peer review report is an outcome of the concern the community has had, which the board has been made aware of. And I want to thank the community and the elected officials for raising these concerns. The board in its deliberation throughout the process has been cognizant of the community concerns, and so has been the applicant. While the board's scope of the action is limited to the findings of the special permit, it has ensured that all relevant findings are met and concerns related to the findings raised during the hearing were addressed. This has resulted in a better site plan, which is the option 2 plan, with better vehicular circulation within the site without sacrificing the existing green open space within the campus. Also, per board's direction, the applicant did multiple on-site parking utilization studies to determine the capacity and parking demand. The board was satisfied with the analysis and determined that the reduction in on-site parking spaces would not result in parking shortfall, and with the combination of revised plan, the proposed project will not cause traffic congestion and will not have adverse effect on the residents in the surrounding area, and thereby meeting all the findings of the special permit. I want to take this opportunity to ask each of the commissioners if they during the when I read out the after I read out the motion to approve, or if you want to now, you can. Maybe this would be a good time if you all want to make a statement, and if you believe the applicant has met the finding. We did close it, so. But I still want to hear it from you based on the review of the peer document and the responses provided. Vice Chair Shabeta.
Thank you, Chair.
I did review the peer review document. I found that it may have been making a few assumptions, such as the assumption that the unidentified vehicles were faculty users and should be considered a parking demand that the site generates. I think that was a broad assumption, but I do want to thank the applicant in responding to the peer review. And I think that response really did shed a great deal of light as to some of the concerns, that the applicant that the community may have. And I certainly, as you stated, I do appreciate the community's concerns. I think it's important to note that the applicant did take some rather large steps in the creation of this project to address some of those concerns, including but not limited to addressing the stormwater and sewage issue that it was having, the community has, and actually that this project in the state that it is currently being proposed will create a reduction in both that sewer and stormwater. With regard to the parking study, the applicant has provided ample evidence that it would meet the findings. Now, in that regard, we at the BSA, this is a very, very limited review that we are permitted to have with regard to this special permit. Had this been a variance or some other type of application, we could have gone into greater detail or went into different areas, but the findings here are very, very limited in scope. And I believe the applicant has met those findings. I have nothing further.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Commissioner Otley Brown?
I agree with both you, Chair, and the Vice Chair that the special permit findings here are very limited in scope. They have to do with whether or not the affordable housing that's being contemplated is below a certain income limit. And if that's met, whether or not the revised site plan is a better site plan, which I believe that they have met. They've also shown that through 2 parking demand studies, that regardless of whether or not you consider solely residents and staff of this community or residents and staff who are permitted parkers as well as non-permitted parkers, there's still actually parking availability on this site. So I feel that they've actually met the findings, and I have no more comments.
Thank you. Commissioner Young?
Thank you. I also agree that all the special permit findings have been met, and I wish the applicant team the best of luck in providing much needed senior housing in Brooklyn. Thanks.
Thank you. So I then make a motion to approve with the following conditions. And these are mostly DEP related conditions. The applicant shall inform DEP of any updates regarding the proposed new landscaping of the proposed design changes and additional because additional testing may be necessary. The building shall provide a minimum window wall attenuation of 25 dBA along with an alternate means of ventilation in order to achieve SECRA and HUD interior noise level requirements. The building shall utilize electric system for heating and hot water. At the completion of the project, a professional engineer certified shall certify the remedial closure report and shall submit to DEP for review and approval.
Are you,
Yeah, motion to approve. Sorry.
motion to approve?
Yeah.
Chair Shanda,
Aye.
Vice Chair Shabeta,
Aye.
Commissioner Otley Brown,
Aye.
Commissioner Yoon.
Aye.
Application has been granted. I will make a note for the record. We unfortunately did not list a decision item that was supposed to be on this calendar, which we will decide on tomorrow. It is 2022-18BZ, 64 Butler Place, Staten Island. My apologies to the applicant, but we'll have that on the calendar tomorrow. We'll vote it out tomorrow. Zoning calendar, continued hearing items, item 2021-50BZ, 50 Lawrence Avenue, Brooklyn.
I just have to say, we are just reviewing 40, now 45 cases. Up till, without the butler, it was 44. So one more, doesn't matter, 45 cases only in 2 weeks span. And I really want to thank the staff, everybody, because there's a lot that happens behind the scene between our council, project managers team to herd everybody and get all the information. So it is much appreciated. While we do review the 45 cases, everybody's also working with us. Okay.
Sorry.
So yes, Lawrence Avenue. So I'm just going through scrolling through my earlier notes. The application was last heard on March 14th. We did receive a DOT sign off. DEP also issued a sign off on air quality, but I believe there is still some outstanding issues with regards to the DEP noise. Ms. Benke, correct me if I'm wrong.
That's correct. We received the response and sent it to DEP last week.
Great, thank you. And I believe an E designation for hazmat will also be placed on the site.
I have to check. I don't have a note on that.
Maybe I misread it. If you could verify
I'll
that.
check. Yeah.
Anything else?
No, as directed by the board, the applicant is committing to provide cross guards at arrival and dismissal times. And in addition, per DOT sign-off letter, the applicant is committing to provide school bus services for students in middle school, 6th through 8th grade. And the school is also committing to perform follow-up traffic monitoring at the intersection of McDonald Avenue and Lawrence Avenue, and also 47th Street and Parkville Avenue within 3 months of school opening and within 6 months of full occupancy. This is an ongoing discussion, so we need to resolve that, because anything that comes up the noise study will affect the site plan and the design.
You're correct about the E designation. Sorry, I must have omitted that from my notes.
Okay, so it is, so then, right, okay. All right, so I want to now go to our commissioners, Vice Chair Shibeta.
I have no further comment.
Okay. Commissioner Otley Brown.
I'm pleased that they've incorporated the additional suggestions into their revised D finding. I have no more comments.
Commissioner Yoon.
I have nothing further.
Commissioner, do you want anything, Commissioner Shadow?
No, there wasn't any comments from
Okay.
Commissioner Sheta.
Okay, move on to the next case.
Mhm.
Special order calendar, continued hearing items, 295-57BZ, 14615 Union Turnpike, Queens.
Okay. The application was last heard on April 10th. Per applicant's cover letter, a community board recommendation has been received, though I did not see a community board report. So if a project manager can reach out to the community board and get a copy of it, or the applicant can provide it, that would be great. A compliance chart has been provided addressing all the past conditions. An engineer's letter has been provided regarding the storm drains on the site, and based on the engineer's site visit and observation, there has been no issues with flooding on the site, and there isn't any storm drain. Since there is no drainage issue on the site, the engineer believes additional drains are not needed to be installed. I have a question, and this is for Commissioner Yoon. Maybe you can shed some light on this. Are there code requirements for installation of storm drains?
Yes, I mean, DEP requires that every site drains its own stormwater within the confines of its own site and is controlling it through some means of sanitary or sewer connection that is tied into the city infrastructure. So they mentioned a dry well under the canopy. Without knowing what the underground plumbing situation is there, I imagine I'm also confused that they say there are no drains on site, but there's no problem with drainage. Because there must be some way that the water is going somewhere. That is
Yeah.
hopefully legal, which is within the confines of your site and that it's being properly handled, so. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, you exactly, that's what I was also a little baffled with. Is how are you addressing the drainage system without any drains being on the site?
Right, I would say it's not necessarily our jurisdiction to say how the site should drain, but it's a strange comment to say there are no drains.
Right,
But there has to be something if it's going to
Yes.
an underground driveway.
yeah,
So,
otherwise it's a very dry well.
yeah, so I think that, I think that that's meritorious of a clarification, because
Yes,
those two statements can coexist.
yeah, okay, good. Plans have been revised regarding the sign analysis, but I don't think the sign analysis chart corresponds with the sign chart that is included on the plan sheet drawing page number 004. So the applicant should look into that. Those are my comments, Vice Chair Shibata.
I didn't see any photographs of the removal of the storage bin. The cover letter stated that they were going to remove a storage bin, remove outside merchandise, and clean graffiti, and they stated that these things are in progress, and that photographs of same would be submitted under a separate cover. I did not see any such submission, so I'm still waiting on an update for that. The other comments with regard to drainage, I think we've discussed. I have no further comments.
Thank you. Commissioner Otley Brown.
I agree with Vice Chair. I'm still awaiting the photos of the various things that they have accomplished, the improvements on site.
Thank you. Commissioner Yoon.
Yes, same comment. It's been 4 months since we last heard the case, I believe, so we're just waiting for these photos.
Yeah, it has been a while, so I'm not sure why it's taking so long for the applicant to address these concerns. Thank you. Next case.
No, I just want to say something. Was Friday, anything come in? Oh, no. Okay. It was just a message. All right. Okay. All right, new cases, 2241-72BZ, 132-136 East 37th Street and 281-287 Lexington Avenue, Manhattan.
Okay, we received proof of service of initial filing and proof of hearing notice. The community board has voted to approve this application. This is an application for an amendment to modify hours of operation and ground floor access for the arcade and installation of fencing in conjunction with the hours of, as I mentioned, our new hours of accessibility. This site has an arcade that is located along East 37th Street that is open to public for 24 hours as a privately owned public space under that formula. Back in 1972, board had granted a variance for a floor area waiver and a lot coverage and lot room per area height setback. And modification of the street level location of the arcade. As you recall from the photos and from my site visits, the site slopes towards 37th East towards 37th Street. So the arcade is at grade on Lexington and then it starts sloping towards 37th. And so the arcade is elevated at 37th Street and the building is is located on top of it, and there are several columns located within this arcade. So the applicant is proposing to amend the hours of operation from 24 hours to a limited hour of 7 a.m. to 8 a.m., April 1st to October 31st, and 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. from November 1st to March 31st. This is a similar hours of operation that one sees on other privately owned public spaces, POP spaces. The applicant is providing additional fencing, new lighting, landscaping, and furniture in this arcade. And the reason for these changes, the applicant is stating, is that because of where it is located, this has become somewhat of a nuisance. It has become of late as a site that is very unsafe unhealthy, and has also resulted in some vandalism. So security is an issue, and there have been, and I think some illegal activities have occurred in this arcade. So because of that, this arcade is not at all being used by public. I would say it was never being used by public because of the location and way it is designed. I used to live around that area, so I know this area pretty well. There's a community facility that also abuts this arcade, SSMA, and up till recently, they had direct access to the arcade, and due to all these issues that I mentioned earlier, it has stopped using the arcade and has closed off. But it wasn't quite clear to me from the plans or as to what is it, how, if there was a direct visual or a physical access from the SSMA to the site and how that area was used by SSMA. So as I mentioned, this arcade area is a maze of columns. Not a pleasing space currently and lacks visibility, which makes the space very unsafe. I just, in the plan, I would like the applicant to indicate the entrances to the community facility and the residential buildings, because it seems there are several staircases that are landing into the arcade. So I want to know, are these primary entrances or secondary means of exit? And is it to the residential or community facility or to the SSMA facility? And under the proposed plan, will a portion of the arcade be continued to be used by SSMA? So the programming of the current arcade is very sketchy. Maybe there wasn't any to start off with, but at the same time, I feel the response that the applicant has provided is not going to be a solution that they are looking for to address the concerns that they raised. The proposed improvement, as I said, will not address the issues the applicant is trying to address. I would strongly recommend the applicant look into the history of Harmony Atrium, which is located near Lincoln Center. It is the one that has seen the transformation. If one has seen the transformation of this atrium, one would know and take lessons from it at what work, as to what works and what does not work in an atrium such as this. And what is being proposed would be one of those list of items that would not work. Providing chairs and tables can activate the space, but it needs to feel safe. And so far, the design solutions that's been proposed would not make one feel safe. The applicant needs to focus on what would make the space safe. The ceiling of the arcade is uninviting. It can be colored up. There can be interesting ways one could color up the ceiling, lighting. You could put mirrors. Who will use the multipurpose area that is being proposed at the furthest end of the arcade? Is there a planned program for this use? Do you have a tenant who is going to use it? Are security cameras placed in the arcade? Can SSMA provide visual and physical access to the arcade to activate the space? My concern is that the proposed fencing will only encourage the space to be kept closed over time, as the proposed amenities will not attract proper use of the space. And the fencing, as shown, even though it's not designed, or it just, to me from outside, it looks like a space. If I'm in, I may be more boxed in, and it feels like a cage. So I am not sure it is the right design or the right approach. I was thinking, as I was reviewing it, I was trying to think if there is any other way to make the space more physically attractive and make the space physically active. Like, can you provide a meandering pathway, colorful meandering pathway, the rainbow pathway, I would call it, through the space, which somebody can use as a jogging exercise with some interesting notes on it, or a mini climbing wall. Maybe the kids in the building can use that. Can a reflective surface be used to make the space appear more interesting for people to play around? So there, I think, ways and tools that this can be made interesting and inviting. So far, the proposal is very passive, and it is not going to result in any activation of the space or would attract anybody to want to come in and sit there and sip their cup of latte. Because there is nothing that would draw to them. So that is my concern with this space. There are 2 ECB violations, which are related to the zoning. So I would like the applicant to clarify that, and those are my initial comments. Vice Chair Shibata.
Thank you, Chair. I want to thank you. That was for your comments. I believe that they were very thoughtful and thought out about how to address the concern and problem that the applicant has put before us. I didn't have any comment to the application, but I do think that following those suggestions would be helpful.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Otley Brown?
I thought this was a reasonable request. It's clear that this plaza has been abused by members of the public. And as a result of that, I feel that their access to the plaza should be controlled, because I don't feel that the residents of the building should have to withstand that kind of unsanitary and also at times illegal behavior. That being said, I think that they probably could add additional security, implement different security plans. For instance, they probably should have some kind of video camera monitoring, or perhaps even security guards who would wander the place at night to ensure that nobody does get past movable fences, because if fences are movable, one questions whether or not they can really prevent people from accessing the site.
I don't think the fences are movable. I think it's going to be a rolled gate.
It's going to be a rolling gate?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Commissioner Yoon?
Thank you. I also agree that the efforts to control the space seem reasonable, but that design-wise, more efforts could be made to actually improve the publicness of the space. I went to the site. It is a very uninviting space currently. I didn't see anything particularly interesting. It was just very sterile, and there's no landscaping, there's no furniture. And I didn't see any comment from the applicant about improving lighting, but you did mention that they were going to. So I'd like the applicant to clarify if there is going to be any proposal for lighting. It wasn't part of the drawings. I think the fence design saying that, that will be determined at a later date. I think it's important that we approve the project with a fence design proposal, because I think that's very important in whether or not the POPs will still feel public, or if it will feel ultimately like a private space. As a suggestion, ways to control access while not creating a cage-like environment would be using glass instead of metal fencing. There are different materials that will provide light and airiness to the space, as opposed to feeling cage-like. This is also used as the main entrance, it seems, for a couple of office spaces, medical offices, and then a New York State Health office. So also maybe improving the main entrance portion of the arcade, so that at least there are people who are using this space actively to go into these office spaces, but there's no effort to make this feel like a main entrance. So I believe the proposal is reasonable as far as the use and the intent, but I think the design efforts need to be amped up in order to actually make this a successful public, a privately owned public space. That's all I have.
Yes.
So just wanted to jump in on that one question. It seems that the applicant got a variance under 7221 for a non-complying arcade. Arcades are controlled and defined under 3780 of the zoning resolution. POPs are controlled under 3770 of the zoning resolution. Many of the ails that the board is discussing and agreeing with the applicant are POPs requirements. Now, biz records, DOB biz records report this as a POP space. Our records demonstrate that this is a non-complying arcade. Pops have requirements to be open to the public 24 hours a day. Arcades do not. One of the ECB violations that you mentioned is a Pops violation for having what's known as hostile architecture on ledges. That's a Pops requirement. Again, this is a variant, so if the board doesn't like it, it goes. But the applicant should drill down into what this space is and what its requirements are before seeking what the proposal is. Arcades have
So here is a little bit of what I remember from my days at DCP when I used to review arcades and pop spaces. There is a distinction. Yes, arcade is enclosed and pops is open, but there are some design elements that are interchangeable. Hours of operation, there are pop spaces that are open 24 hours, and there are some pop spaces that do have an hours. And this hour that is proposed is very similar to that. There are some pops designs like hostile design, like especially you don't want skateboarders to skate along the surface. So you put these metal rods to prohibit from, what is the term called? Grinding or something like that?
Yeah.
I don't know. Something, I'm sorry, I'm old.
Yeah.
I'm old. I would love to learn skateboarding, but next life. But so those things are features that's been used in some pop spaces. I think it's not permitted but depends how you design it. So there are elements that's been borrowed, lighting, especially in arcade, lighting is critical. It's below a ceiling, so you have to light it. But accessibility and all of these are very similar. So they're interchangeable elements that can be taken. I think General Counsel Vine, you're right in saying they need to pick the elements, but also indicate where they are being picked from. And I agree with the commissioners that stated that I understand the need to kind of contain the space and make it more manageable for the building. But the improvements so far that's proposed, the design intents are inadequate. And I do not think it would meet the goals and intentions that they're hoping to achieve. So it needs to be more dynamic than so far that's been presented. I also want to read out Commissioner Shetta's comment. And his comments are, in the statement of facts, elaborate on or clarify the description of the rolling fence, its benefits, locations, its operations, etc. So those are my comments. Anything?
No, just to add to what you said, the zoning resolution does encourage deterrence to skateboarders, rollerbladers, and other wheeled devices and their pops and arcade spaces, but devices or forms affixed incorporated into planter ledges, etc., that are intended to prevent or inhibit seating, such as spikes, metal bars, pointed, excessively rough, or deliberately uncomfortable materials are prohibited.
Yeah. And I think if you're going to propose tables and chairs, so many numbers of tables and chairs, what I have noticed, and I remember I was working on the Harmony Atrium case, so that's why I'm saying this, is the chairs and tables started moving all over the place. They were misused, and at some point they were chained. So if anybody wanted to use it, they really could not use it. So providing those amenities are great, but why would somebody think as to why would somebody sit there? What is drawing them to want to sit there? There's nothing at this point. So you need to make the space much more dynamic, attractive, interesting for somebody to want to take a respite, if you want this to be a respite space, but which it is not at this point. And from the design provided, I think it would fail to meet that. Those are my comments.
We're done?
Yeah.
Okay. 426-81 BZ, 2329 Story Avenue, the Bronx.
Okay, we received proof of service of initial filing and proof of hearing notice. Community board the executive committee of the community board has approved this application. This is an application for an amendment to permit a change in use from use group 11A to use group 7B. extension of term which expired on April 20th, 2012, and waiver of board's rules. Board has had a jurisdiction on this site since 1982. The applicant has provided a compliance chart, and it has been, and in that it indicates that the signage exceeds the conditions that was required. The applicant is proposing to amend the prior grant to change the use from use group 11B, which is a manufacturing use, to use group 7B, a contractor's establishment. The current use has been operating at this site for over a decade. The applicant states that the business is closed on Saturdays and Sundays, and it's only used as an office and storage space with small scale supplies. And the daily vehicular trip is limited to 5 employees, and trash is stored inside the building. So here are my few comments. The photos that have been provided has a sales sign on the building. So I would like to know what is the status of it. Indicate on the site plan the location of the street tree that is being maintained, because that was stated in the prior resolution and on the plan also. Apart from 5 vehicular trips of employees, will there be any additional trips to carry the stored material from the site? Those are my initial comments. Vice Chair Shibata.
Can I, that last comment again? What was I didn't hear you.
Sorry, apart from the 5 vehicular trips of the employees at the applicant states, will there be any additional trips to carry stored materials from the site, since this is a contractor's
Okay.
yard?
So, thank you, Chair. I think this is a very reasonable and small ask. I find it that it's completely self-contained. It doesn't create it. I have no objection to this change. I do want to note that it's from 9. I don't know if I said this. It was the hours are from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. on Monday through Friday. And from what I understand, the storage is for small tools that a contractor would bring for an on-site review of a job. So I have no concerns with this application.
Thank you. Commissioner Otley Brown.
Overall, I have no questions for this application. I think it's a pretty minor change. I appreciate them compiling all the various sources for their proof of continuous use since April 2012. It was a long time, but they cobbled together information from Google Street View photos, the EDR City Directory abstract, the Kohl's Business Directory, aerial photos, archived web pages, and LinkedIn pages. And I think all of that provides the background that we need so that we could make the assumption that this was in continuous use for over a decade since the variance expired. I have no questions.
The project manager has a hand up, Ms. Prenga.
Yes, Ms. Prenga.
I can go after the commissioners. I can go after everyone's finished. Thank you.
I can't.
You can go after the
Did you
commission.
say?
Oh, she'll go after the commissioners. Okay.
Oh, sorry.
Okay, Commissioner Yoon.
Thank you. The only comment I had, which is quite minor, is that the variance permits hours from of operation from 9 to 5, Monday through Friday, which is what the statement of facts attests is the current operating hours for the contractor's establishment. Google Maps says you guys open at 8, and 9 seems late for a contractor, so I'm just skeptical about the hours. They seem quite limited, but other than that, it's the only thing I noticed. Nothing further from me.
Okay, I need to read Commissioner Shetta's comments, and that is, did the applicant notify the neighbors? Were there any complaints from them? Fire department should opine on the new use and operation. Should be conditioned on that no storage of combustible or hazardous material and no noise mitigation. No noise migration, I'm sorry. Yes, General Counsel Vine.
I was just trying to Google to verify Commissioner Yoon's comments about the hours, and it led me to pages upon pages of sale quotes for this property. So it just brings me back to your first comment, Chair. What's happening here? Do they actually have an intention to seek a change of use for this property owner? Is there a business? I didn't even hit a business listing for the hours of operation because there are so many sale listings here.
Okay, yes, Ms. Prenga?
Hi, I just wanted to say that, we do need a DOB. I'm sorry, can you hear me?
Jella, I can't hear you.
I can't hear you.
Let me try to get closer. We do need a DOB objection for the change of use. I hope you can hear that.
Okay,
Need a DOB objection. for
we
change of
need a
use.
DOB objection? Okay,
Yes, thank you.
thank you. I thought I saw it, but maybe I didn't. There's so many cases, I might be mixing one with the other. Okay,
Should the board decide to grant this application, that change of use will have to be reflected on a new CO. So it would behoove the applicant to obtain a job application to change the CO.
thank you. Yeah. next,
Move on?
please. Yes, please.
71328 BZ, 425 Vanderbilt Avenue, Staten Island.
Okay, we received proof of service of initial filing and proof of hearing notice. We haven't received a community board recommendation. This is an application to amend a previously approved special permit for an operation of an automotive service station to a convenience store and to install new canopy, improve signage, and modify parking layout. In addition, the amendment is seeking legalization of the enlargement of the accessory building and the 3 dispensers and 3 underground storage tank and revising the signage and curb cut. So there's a lot of changes that the applicant is proposing. This has been in board's jurisdiction since 1929. The applicant has provided a compliance chart. And as I mentioned, there is a lot of amendment elements to this site. So including the widths of the curb cuts, if I didn't mention it, legalizing the price sign, revising the approved sign, legalizing the existing 4,000-gallon tanks, legalizing the existing pump location, and such. So the applicant needs to include the TPPN analysis on the proposed floor plan regarding the convenience store. Indicate on the proposed plan the handicap parking space and stripe the walkway from the parking area to the building. The applicant is proposing the hours of operation to be 24/7. It wasn't clear if that's the same for also convenience store. I believe it is. I just would like the applicant to clarify. So I did not have any comments on this in terms of what the applicant is proposing, the signage, as long as it is complying with the underlying regulations. I think so far what is shown seems to be. Applicant is proposing a triangular planting bed at the corner. It's not a bad suggestion, but would like the applicant to provide a little bit more detail of the kind of planting that is proposed. I did not have any issues with the lighting. Those are my comments. Vice Chair Shibata.
Thank you. So I too was a bit, it was an interesting case when the applicant has not been in compliance with several requirements, but his resolution is to ask that they be legalized and that there be an amendment for variance. That being said, the requests are reasonable. So I have no further comments.
Thank you. Commissioner Otley Brown,
I have no comments.
Commissioner Yoon.
Thank you. I also have no comments.
Okay, sorry, yes, Vice, sorry. Oh, General
Yes.
Counsel Vine.
Well, Counsel-
I'm
Hi,
sorry.
so with respect to DOB TPPN 10 of 99, an accessory gas station is permitted to have the lesser of 2,500 square feet or 25% of the zoning lot area. The zoning lot area, 25% of the zoning lot area here would be 1,268 square feet. Their statement of facts states that the accessory convenience store is 1,522 square feet. That cannot be approved.
My reading said the selling floor is 772 square feet.
Okay,
Yeah, so
Um,
that's the analysis that is missing. It just gave the total floor area. It did not carve out within that what is the portion of the area that is selling.
but more importantly, under 11.4.1, they need to demonstrate the size of the lot that existed such that the increase in floor area on the lot doesn't offend 11.4.12.
96, which is less than the 12.
Yeah, so the Vice Chair Shibata pointed out, the statement says the accessory building will have a convenience
Commissioner,
stores.
Mike.
Sure.
Sorry. Yeah,
You want me to read it?
yes, please.
Okay, so the statement of facts does read that the accessory building will have a convenience store sales area of 771.96 square feet. That's 771 square feet, which is less than the 12.6, the 1,268 square feet, and therefore would comply with the TPPN 1099. But I think you should clarify that.
They also need to demonstrate, since this is a pre-61 lot, that the under 11.4.12, they have to demonstrate the existing lot area prior to 1961, and that the increase in any bulk on the site will not exceed 50% of the available lot area at the,
Right,
So you want more than a statement?
yes,
Okay,
right, that's a general,
But they do the calculations.
they under
They-
11.4.12 or?
Yeah, they say the enlargement to be legalized building size, original building size 1961, 1284 square feet, then the enlarged to be legalized 1,522 square feet, which is plus 237 square feet, which is an enlargement of 18.5% of what was originally there, which is less than the 50% limit of what was there on 1961 as per 11-412. I admit that the statement is rather rambling and they don't get around to this until late in the statement. It should be a lot more straightforward. It's pretty simple to meet all of these findings, and they should like go boom, 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 boom. 1, 2, 3, 4. These are the things that we want to show, instead of you have to read almost to the last paragraph to fill in all of that information that you're looking for.
I would ask for the convenience of the Department of Buildings and the board as well, for the applicant to include their DOB TPPN compliance in their plans. I see it on page 9 of 16. They should demonstrate the TPPN compliance. If I'm not seeing it, I
right,
apologize.
that was one of my comments, is the TPPN analysis, the compliance plan should be included in the drawing.
Commissioner, can you move your mic back, Madam Chair?
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
I have to read Commissioner Sheta's comments. The applicant has submitted the lighting. I don't have any concerns. Submitted vehicle circulation, okay by me. The canopy drainage is shown on Plan BSA 11. Applicant needs to show flow drains and confirm site drainage will be handled on site by these drains, and it will not overflow from the site to surrounding streets. Okay, any additional comments from anybody?
Okay, move on.
Yes,
897-85 DZ, 1450 Madison Avenue, Manhattan.
just give me a second. I'm just taking the notes. Okay, we received proof of service of initial filing and proof of hearing notice. Committee board has voted to approve this project. Though it was not clear from the committee board report if the vote comes with condition, assuming that it is a condition, this is how I read it. community board's condition is that Mount Sinai continue its good faith effort to be a committed neighbor for health-based advocacy in East Harlem. And there are many other recommendations that go with it. I'm just kind of taking one component of it. But they're all related around Mount Sinai's responsibility and commitment to work with the neighborhood with regards to health benefits. This is an application for an amendment of a previously approved special permit under section 73-641 and variance to renovate and enlarge the existing Kingston Clinical Center, KCC, contrary to the lot coverage and setback regulations. This application has been before the board in various forms. Or this site actually has undergone many different BSA grants since 1924. The most latest one was 1986, when the variance for special and the special permit under ZR 73-641 was granted to build an 11-story building and modify the lot coverage and the street wall and the recess requirement. And that's the modification the applicant is here for us. The compliance chart has been provided, and also the SECRA conditional neg deck compliance chart has been provided. The applicant is proposing to enlarge the existing 11-story building on 5 floors, basically from 5th to 9th floors, and correction of the existing built conditions that were built based on what DOB considered to be a zoning floor area or not. And so that correction is being proposed now post 1986 approval. And this would result in an increase in the zoning floor area, lot coverage, and increase in height and setback. And this would be the level of increase the level of non-compliancy. However, these changes that are being asked are not significant; they're minimal, and the applicant has gone through the findings of the special permit and also the variance. With regards to the special permit amendment pursuant to ZR 73-641, which is a modification, we don't see this very often, is a modification of community facility use for integration of new buildings or enlargements with existing buildings. So the applicant, as I mentioned, is seeking to amend the height and setback and provide and has provided its response to the findings. That is. So with regards to finding A of the special permit, the applicant states that the proposed enlargement requires a height and setback modification. And this is needed because it would provide more patient room, respite space for the patient, and meet the current FGI guideline for patient room. With regards to finding B, the applicant states that the amendment to the height and setback will allow for an efficient floor plate and will allow for grouping of uses for better patient care and operational efficiency instead of co-locating uses and having duplicative support surfaces, and fostering collaboration between the training hand of Mount Sinai with the Icahn School of Medicine at Mount Sinai. In addition, the facade would be energy efficient, and with acoustic addition, it would allow for continued operation of the site during construction. With regards to finding C, the total height of the building would remain the same. Ground floor of KCC would be made transparent. Facade would be enhanced, and that would unify the campus. It would increase the sustainability and energy efficiency and would meet the noise requirement. With regards to the amendment to previously approved variance for its modification of lot coverage to expand the renovated KCC building, the lot coverage increase is very minimal. It's like 943 square foot. And this is because of the proposed changes to the facade improvement, which is basically building a new skin on the facade that would address the energy efficiency and also address noise during construction. Lobby entrance and a cantilever sky garden that would allow for a much needed respite area for a patient. And these are the things that are increasing the lot coverage. The applicant has gone through a very detailed programmatic need argument to meet the findings of section 5 of the variance. And so these are my thoughts on it based on the review of it. The total building height is not changing. The proposed enlargement, while would be contrary to the required setback above the height of 85 foot, it is allowing for much needed programmatic need for the successful and an efficient operation of the hospital. And it would allow for more patient bed. And in addition, I think the addition of the Sky Lab on the 5th floor would allow for a respite area for the patient. It would be located at a location that would maximize sun exposure, which is very much needed for patients who are almost in their room or going through various treatments. So I believe the ask is minimal and the need has been justified through the programmatic need, and it meets both the findings of the special permit and the variance. I don't know if there are any violations issued. I didn't see anything. Is there any update on the SECRA status, Ms. Benke?
We received the phase 1 and we're reaching out to DEP to see if it screens out or needs further review for hazmat. And noise is still open, but we reviewed the revised EAS and just have one minor text change we'll be requesting. Other than that, there's no open reviews.
Thank you. Vice Chair Shibata.
Thank you, Chair. I found this application to be very thorough. I find the request to be minimal. I find that it meets the findings of 73-641. And I think this is a very well thought out design. The programmatic needs for it, I think, are very well laid out and clearly do help the community. And I'm very glad hopefully that this will be granted soon and I get to be a part of that.
Thank you. Commissioner Otley Brown.
I also found this to be a very thorough application, and they have satisfied the findings for both the variance as well as the special permit, and I have no additional questions.
Thank you. Commissioner Yoon.
Thank you. I also agree that the findings have been met for both 73-641 and 72-21. It seems like a very minimal ask in exchange for what appear to be significant improvements and modernization programmatically and technically and architecturally, and I have nothing further.
I think Commissioner Sheta had some comments. Yes, applicant's statement of fact says to penetrate the sky exposure plane from the height of 109 foot 4.5 inches through 116 foot 10.75 inches. How much is the proposed penetration? The applicant's statement of fact says the requested amendment would permit a minor 943 square foot of total increase in lot coverage at 3 locations. The lobby entrance renovation, which is 182 square foot, the facade renovation, which is 581 square foot, and the cantilever 180 square foot. The requested waiver for lobby entrance, cantilever, and facade renovation collectively the variance, indicating the area in square footage and the breakdown is helpful. However, indicate the change in the lot coverage in percentage form. Example, lot coverage was 55 and the proposed is 56. Okay. on PZ 11 through PZ 14, it shows light blue shaded area indicating additional lot coverage. Example, by the Sky Garden on level 4. Comparing existing to proposed plans submitted, it appears that these additions are structural additions to existing floors. BSA wants to make it clear that it is beyond the scope of its review to look into the way these additions will be structurally designed or built. It is the sole responsibility of the project architect and structural engineer to properly design and ensure compliance of construction of these additions with all applicable codes. Any other questions or comments from anyone? If not, let's go to the next case.
Okay.
Yeah.
2017-217 BZ 4855 Highland Boulevard, Staten Island.
Proof of service of initial filing is not required for extension of time. This is an application for a 4-year extension of time to complete construction and obtain certificate of occupancy for an ambulatory diagnostic or treatment healthcare facility at the subject site. And the time to complete construction and obtain CO expired on July 23rd, 2023. Board has jurisdiction on this site since 2019. A special permit pursuant to ZR 73-126 was granted. The applicant has stated the reason for the delay and has indicated that 80% of the project is complete and also received approval from Department of Health. And based on the timeline, it needs additional timeline of 4 years total, 2 years to complete and 2 years to obtain the certificate of occupancy. I'm satisfied with the application. I have no other question. Vice Chair Shibata.
Thank you, Chair. I too am satisfied with the application, although I would ask if they could be a bit more specific with regard to the completion timeline. I know they said it's 2 years, but what do they have left to do? And when do they expect that to be done?
Okay.
You want specificity in all the items?
Yes, I understand that the 80% of the project is completed by their statement of facts, but a little more detail, because that's what we usually request on.
Okay,
these.
Fair point.
thank you.
Commissioner Otley Brown.
I agree with Vice Chair that a timeline to complete should be added. No other questions.
Okay. All right. Commissioner Yoon.
I have no additional comments.
Okay, I believe Commissioner Sheta had comments on it, and which is requesting 4-year extension, third para on page 2 of statement of facts, last para on page 2, it says, with the recent approval from DOH, the owner is preparing to complete this project in accordance with the board's original grant. The approved building will be able to be constructed within 2 years. An extension of time of 2 years to complete construction and obtain CO is requested. There is no CO on the property currently. Confusing. Are they requesting 4 or 2 years? I think we're all kind of asking the same question. I read it as 2 plus 2, but the applicant can clarify that.
I read it as 4 years as well.
Yeah.
And their
Okay.
breakdown was 2 for this and 2 for the C of O.
Right, that's kind of how I read it. Okay, but the applicant can clarify that and provide the timeline as stated by both Vice Chair and Commissioner Otley Brown. Okay, I don't think we have any more on this.
Move on.
Yes.
2018-21 BZ 1773 East 22nd Street, Brooklyn.
Okay, proof of service of initial filing and proof of hearing notices not required for extension of time. This is an application for an extension of time to construct and obtain CO for an enlargement of an existing home pursuant to zoning resolution section 73-622. Time to complete the construction and obtain CO expired on April 30th, 2023. Board had jurisdiction on this site since 2019. With regards to the reason for delay, it's not clear from the statement if the plan has been submitted to Department of Buildings and if DOB has reviewed and approved the plans. So would like to know what that goes to the next question as to what is the status, apart from the financing being in place. And the applicant needs to provide a timeline for completion. How many years are being requested to complete construction and obtain certificate of occupancy? The document is very sparse on these necessary facts. Those are my comments. Vice Chair Shibata.
Thank you, Chair. I share your comments. Again, we also would need a timeline, even though this is, no work has commenced on this project. And they finally stated that they have financing in place. I think they need to be a bit more specific on how they plan to execute this. And nothing further from me.
Thank you. Commissioner Otley Brown?
I agree with the two of you that a more detailed timeline is in order here.
Okay. Thank you. Commissioner Yoon.
Thank you. I agree with you. Also clarification on whether the job has been filed with DOB. They do state in the statement of facts that 3 years is expected, but wanting 4 years for the extension. But I think we're pretty clear, we're all asking for a bit more information about why it will take 3 years.
To Commissioner Yoon's question, the job has been filed and approved. A copy of our resolution is with the DOB job folder, but no permits have been issued whatsoever for this premises.
Okay, thank you.
Are you seeing that on
Like this.
Biz?
Okay. Meanwhile, let me read Commissioner Shetta's comments. Explain the reason for the delay, provide time frame to complete construction and obtain certificate of occupancy, and indicate how much time is requested. So those are the comments for this application.
We know to move on.
Yep, we can move. You're good? Okay,
Good.
let's move on.
Appeals calendar to continued hearing items. Item number 31, 2018, 188A and 189A, Dunton Avenue, Queens.
So received a letter stating that the owner is working to resolve the, oh no, sorry, that was from May 3rd. As of last hearing that was held in February of 28. Since then, a letter dated 5/3, the applicant had stated that it is working towards resolving DOT comments. Now, based on the recent correspondence from DOT, it seems DOT has received the drawings, but it is still not responding to DOT's earlier comments related to the angle of the driveway of 194-24 Dunton, width of Dunton Avenue, and confirmation of that no parking shall be provided on Dunton, I believe, to maintain the travel width. So I want the applicant during the public hearing to provide an update on the status of the builder's pavement plan review and resolving DOT comments. This has been dragging on for a very long time. We were told removal of the GCL 36 would help expedite the GCL 35, and since February there really has not been much movement. So I do need a better understanding of how long this is going to take. Vice Chair Shibata.
I agree with your comments. I have nothing further.
Thank you. Commissioner Otley Brown.
I have no additional comments.
Okay. Commissioner Yoon.
I have nothing further. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Commissioner Shetta?
Commissioner Shetta did not have any comments.
Item number 32, sorry, not 32, 2022, 28A and 22 through 2022, 30A, 15, 17, 19 Bedell Street, Staten Island.
Okay. The application was last heard on July 10th. The applicant has clarified the underlying zoning that was in place and as of 10/27/05. The site was rezoned from R3X with C11 overlay to R3X. As part of 10/27/2005 zoning map change of zoning map change, C1 overlay was removed, and an applicant has provided all the historic maps. I have to say, I'm still confused as to how DOB approved the plans and work permit for 3 attached home on the subject side that has been zoned R3X. Even prior to the removal of the C1 overlay, where in an R3X, only 1 and 2 family detached homes are permitted. Be that as it may, it seems DOB has been accepting this attached form and has been issuing job permits and work permits. So when I look through but I did look through the BIS, the BIS filing under job number 500688801 under section number 12, zoning characteristics. It says R3X, detached residential district. And in the common section number 24, it states construct cellar and 2-story, 1-family semi-attached residential building with 2-car garage. Though the original plan for 3 attached homes were approved by DOB on 10/6/2005, these approved plans have been submitted. I still find it very difficult to read the date. So those are just my comments as to how the process went through, but it seems DOB has accepted 3 attached homes. And the applicant is asking for asking for common law vesting of the board of DOB's prior grant. So the applicant has provided copies of invoice for work completed prior to 10/27/2005, which was the effective date of the zoning zoning map change, and the payments that have been made. And a DOB audit regarding compliance with 1130-33 has also been provided. And a proof regarding completion of foundation work prior to the effective date of the rezoning was provided to the plan examiner, and that it was accepted. So that's really was the audit. A chronology of DOB approval process for the development on the site has been provided. In addition, photos, historic aerial, and news articles from 2007. Those have also been provided, documenting that the structure existed as of the effective date. I really have no additional questions. As I said, for me, what I raised about DOB's approval is more of a question mark. How do DOB approve attached home in an R3X zoning district, which only allows detached homes? But I think that's water under the bridge, as we say. Vice Chair Shibata.
Thank you. The applicant did provide, as you stated, provided additional financial payments and documentation of work that was completed. They addressed the serious loss. I have no outstanding questions.
Thank you. Commissioner Otley Brown.
Okay, so we did ask for information as to backup financial information as to the expenditures that were prior to October 27, 2005. And what we did get was haphazardly included invoices of all types put into 2 different exhibits with no narrative as to what they referred to, whether any of them were duplicative or anything like that. And so that's just not acceptable. It's not my job as commissioner to add up invoices and receipts and try and make sense out of what they gave us. So what they need to do is resubmit that information in the form of an Excel spreadsheet with each row indicating one of those invoices, the date of the invoice, and then whether or not it occurred before October 27, 2005. And then at the end of all of those rows, they need to total it up. And that information needs to be incorporated into the statement under total substantial expenditures by the change date of the zoning. And so that's what they need to do. As for the serious loss statement, part of their statement had to do with the fact that being asked to build only 1 detached home versus the 3 originally approved attached homes would be a loss to them. However, they did not back that up with any information other than, if you want, we can provide a comparative sales analysis. Well, you have to provide the comparative sales analysis because you're the one who brought up the comparative sales. It's not my job as a commissioner to now go on realty.com and try and figure out how much a detached home of that size would sell, and then go on and do research to find out how much 3 homes would sell for. So if you're going to make a statement, you need to back it up with the information. So I don't feel that they made the findings yet.
I do recall at the last hearing, this was discussed and the applicant said they will provide it, they would use means. Right?
They said that they would provide the backup. but
The
when you
Marshall,
look
they
at-
will use Marshall and
they
Swift
would-
to
and
kind
they
of provide the
also
backup.
said that they
I
would
think there was
use
an
the
issue using Marshall and
comparative
Swift.
Right, you couldn't use Marshall and Swift to talk about the loss based on your sales value. They have to give us some kind of sales analysis. It doesn't have to be detailed. It just has to say, in this area of Staten Island, detached homes of this size would sell for floppity block times 3 equals a total. In this part of Staten Island, single family detached homes would sell for this amount times 1, because we can only do 1. Therefore, there's a relative loss in value here. And so that would satisfy the serious loss. It's not a hard finding to me, but you got to make the finding. You can't leave it for us to sit here and assume.
Mhm. Got it. That's a very clear direction Commissioner Otley Brown has provided. The applicant should listen to it and provide that. Commissioner Yoon?
Thank you. I was also confused about the R3X and the C11 and the C11 being removed. I have nothing further to add.
All right. I don't think Commissioner Sheta did not have any comments on this.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's it? No further comments on anything?
Oh, we completed today's session?
Yes, we've completed. So this ends the public review session for August 7th, 2023.
Okay. All right, thank you. We are at what time?
11:47.
11:47. So let's resume at 12 o'clock.
Okay, so how do we stop this video? Just gonna stop video. Carlo?
We can all just, yes.
Everyone turn off their microphones.
Yeah. Yes. Don't be loud and it's not a big deal. It's not like we have to post it, then notice it.
I'm not feeling bad about that. I'm just like, I feel bad for the applicant. I apologize. No, we're gonna do it tomorrow. Yeah, we'll do it tomorrow. I just feel bad one day.
No biggie. So,
I just feel bad we didn't catch it. It's like we
that's
kept
okay.
changing
So
the
what I'm
lineup
going to
3
do,
times.
let me do it right now.
We changed the lineup 3 times.
I know.
We changed the lineup 3 times and no one started.
I know.
It's like, what? 3 times we changed the lineup and nobody. caught it. What happened?
It's still recording? Oh, yeah, it is saying still recording.
Yes, okay. All right, thank you, bye. He said everybody heard comments,
My comments?
my comments. Like, I'm sorry, we did it 3 times. They can hear us.